Well, Lasell University is one of the oldest institutions of higher education in the Boston area. It was founded in 1851, operated continuously on the same site in Newton since the day it was founded. Lasell became a four-year institution in 1988, a co-educational institution in 1998. Now it's Lasell University. It looks like kind of a traditional co-educational, highly residential institution with a set of 40-some majors and 22-some graduate programs. We also own and operate a continuing care retirement community called Lasell Village. In many parts of the world, it's more well known than Lasell University is. The reason is because the residents there are required to do at least 450 hours per year of educational coursework or activity. So I oversee Lasell Village as well as the university. We have tremendous amounts of intergenerational activity between the residents of Lasell Village and the faculty and students of Lasell University, which enriches the lives of both. We're particularly known for our fashion programs. We've been growing in the sciences. In my time, we built a beautiful new science and technology center. We built a new center for creative and applied arts. We built 4 dormitories, all during my now 16 years. So it's an interesting place that faces all the challenges that small to medium-sized institutions, especially private institutions, are facing these days. Dealing with a falling number of high school graduates, a decline in the number of students who want to go to college rather than go directly to jobs, the intense competition for students among colleges like us, especially in New England where there are so many of them. 30 years ago, state and federal governments paid about 60 to 65% of the cost of going to college in the whole country. And parents and families and students themselves paid about 30 to 35% of the total through tuition fees, net of financial aid. Now, 30 years later, that's totally flipped. The government pays 30 to 35%, including all the public institutions, and the families are expected to pay 60 to 65%. This is why you read in the news about the cost of college is too high, the cost of attendance is too great, because the public institutions have had to increase their tuition fees so much, and they don't give the amount of financial aid that the private institutions give. And so in a place like Massachusetts, where more than 50% go to private institutions like me are the ones who are teaching most of the low-income students. We have 33% of our students are Pell eligible. They come from families of $60,000 of family income and less. The whole thing has gotten flipped around. That also means that when I started 15 plus years ago, we competed entirely with other private institutions. That's no longer true. If you look at our top 10 competitors, 6 of them now are public institutions. So the whole competitive environment has changed, the ways that people pay for it have changed, and the biggest factor in all that is that the states have hugely disinvested in higher education. We started an experimental program called Lasell Works, an alternative way to attend Lasell, where students start as normal students, but in their second year, they move off campus, they work in a paid job and take online courses with Lasell. And in exchange for that, we lowered their tuition each year. Nobody's ever reduced tuition each year as student returns. I'm considered the founder of the Lower Cost Models for Independent Colleges Consortium. That's now 135 institutions across the country who are working together to figure out how to break this model of high tuition, high financial aid that people don't understand. So what we did is just announced that we are actually going to take the step to reduce tuition significantly, $20,000 less next year than it would have been if we hadn't made this change. About a 33% reduction in tuition, room and board. But the whole point is to help people who are applying to college, who are looking at colleges, to understand that it doesn't cost $60,000 just because the published price says that. Almost nobody pays that. So we're hoping that by lowering it $20,000, that at least we'll get them over the hump to consider us. So I get to know a lot of students. My office is in the library. So for years, I walked through clouds of students all the time who were working at their computers or working with each other on projects. So I had a way to get to know students, get to see them develop and grow, which is really the reward for doing the business is that's what you get. You get to see them grow and develop and become, active young citizens who are really capable. So that's really the delight of the job, is to get to know the students, to feel you have a hand, maybe mostly indirect, but sometimes direct, in their personal and intellectual growth. So look, I know at least from the time that I was in college at Harvard that I wanted to be a small college president. I got that in my mind way back then. For 24 years, I ran companies, reporting to boards all that time, because I turned out to be good at it, and they kept asking me to do it, making a little bit of money. But I really wanted to be a small college president. Finally, in the last part of my professional career, I got to do what I really always wanted to do, to be a small college president.